India Today has now been relentlessly bringing you all the haunting images coming in from the beginning of this Russian invasion on Ukraine. We're looking at day 16, and here are some of those defining images. Series of massive explosions have rocked Ukrainian cities this morning. In Dnipro city of Ukraine, a huge explosion was caught on cameras where 3 airstrikes hit closely near a kindergarten, an apartment building, as well as a 2-story shoe factory with subsequent combustion. These gory images here display a wrath of destruction all around as Dnipro comes under attack. More explosions were heard in Dnipro earlier this morning as civilians captured the heart-wrenching evidence of blasts on cameras. This comes even as Russian forces ups its non-stop assault across multiple cities in Ukraine as the invasion now enters day 16. And amid non-stop shellings and airstrikes, explosions rocked the Ukrainian city of Ivano-Frankivsk in western part of Ukraine. Large amounts of smoke emerged from the blast site, putting up huge dark shadow in the sky. And the morning in Ukraine brings reports of more devastating Russian airstrikes and troop movements across the country, while Ukrainian forces have done a hell of a job in resisting. Russians are slowly advancing and trying to pound cities in submission. Now, this video here shows clearly a massive airstrike in the Lutsk city where a motor plant also caught fire triggered by heavy explosions. And now the situation in Kharkiv region remained quite tense on Thursday. Ukraine has said that at least 3 bombs were dropped on the small village of Dinets in Slobozhansk community. One of them hit the foundation of a 2-story private house and a shopping center as well. Unfortunately, news of 2 women, 2 children killed have come to fore. And here you have images on your screens that shows a fighter jet in the western city of Ukraine, Zhytomyr, flying into a massive explosion after Russian airstrikes. Really disturbing, unsettling images of this airstrike in Ukraine's Zhytomyr city. And the next defining image here on your screen shows a massive attack on an armored vehicle. The tank is completely destroyed and on raging fire in the Ukrainian war zone. And these drone visuals on your screen here shows destruction of Russian tanks as fumes come out of one of them on the outskirts of Brovary near Kiev. Ukraine has also claimed to have destroyed over 5 Russian tanks. These are claims coming in from the Ukrainian forces as they put up stiff resistance against the Ukraine advances. Series of blasts hit a children's and maternity hospital in Mariupol. The ground shook more than a mile away. Explosions blew out windows, ripped away much of that front part of the building. Police soldiers rushed to the scene to evacuate victims. Reports coming in that many of them were stuck under debris. Zelensky calling this attack an absolute atrocity. Intense bombing continued to rock parts of the port city of Mariupol. Russian military has launched multiple airstrikes and missiles leading to explosions and mass destruction. The port city of Mariupol completely under attack by Russian forces. Now, to understand the gravity of Mariupol attack, just take a look at these images on your screens. Residential buildings in Mariupol are completely destroyed by non-stop bombing of Russian missiles. This port city of Mariupol, we see civilians who were targeted through these bombings that took place in several residential areas. the city of Mariupol now completely looking haunted. Now, the video on your screens here show the aftermath of deadly attacks on Oktyrka, as the city can be seen in complete ruins. Plumes of smoke can be witnessed from this city here, another city that bears a haunted look. In fact, we're looking at the aftermath images after much of the bombing and shelling that took place. It's almost devastated this city of Oktyrka. Here right on your screens, this is a footage of a strike by an unmanned aerial vehicle of the Russian aerospace forces on a fortified stronghold of Ukrainian nationalists just hours ago. This deadly visual that's coming in shows a massive air assault, a footage of this strike by an unmanned aerial vehicle of the Russian aerospace forces on a fortified stronghold of the Ukrainian nationalists just hours ago, coming in from that war-torn country. Now, after Russian forces continue attacking Ukrainian cities, museums, local authorities protect their heritage. In fact, in the cobblestone western city of Lviv, a team led by restorer Andriy, who has now been using plexiglass, fireproof padding and heavy-duty canvas to protect statues outside the 18th century Baroque cathedral. We're looking at these images where an attempt is being made to preserve and protect their history, even as Russia continues to bombard these cities. These are images coming in from Lviv, where we're seeing restorers trying as much as they can to protect what's left behind. Now, after a deadly clash, Ukrainian troops seized Russian tank on Wednesday. You can see here on your screens, Ukrainian tank towing away a Russian tank in the war-affected area. Here we hear claims coming in from Ukraine that they've managed to destroy several Russian tanks, and these are one of those corroborating images that shows this deadly clash where the Ukrainian troops seized this Russian tank. In fact, we see that Ukrainian tank towing away the Russian tank in that war-affected area. Now, Ukrainian troops have shot down another Russian army helicopter in Mykolaiv, the region, on Wednesday. In fact, this attack has taken place. On your screens here, you can see the wrecked parts of the helicopter, which crashed in a field after being hit by Ukrainian troops. And Russia wreaks havoc in Sumy, one of those very sensitive zones. Horrifying footage here shows the extent of destruction in the Ukrainian city of Sumy after a night of violent Russian shelling that indiscriminately targeted several residential buildings. You can also see several bodies of women and children lying all over the area. In fact, Sumy is the same city where we saw several Indians also who were stranded. Many of them, almost all of them, students particularly, have been evacuated from that sensitive zone. What's left behind, we see, of mass destruction. These visuals indeed unsettling. This is the aftermath footage of Kiev destruction from Wednesday. Continuous heavy shelling that's destroyed the capital city of Kiev. You can see here shelled buildings, damaged cars, bodies lying around. Life in Kiev that's come to a complete standstill. Even as we speak, we see that Kiev, the capital city, has been burning in the aftermath. But in the last few days, no attacks have taken place, but it appears Russian forces building up their military presence all around Kiev. This is what the evacuation of one of the largest cities, Irpin, looks like from a drone. You can see a sea of people on foot under a destroyed bridge to cross a river and evacuate the city. In fact, from that area, those stranded at the earliest. Artillery and airstrikes have caused heavy damage in and around the city as we see people trying to escape in the nick of time. These appalling images coming in from Kharkiv on Wednesday, a city that was once buzzing with people, now looks completely deserted, haunted. Buildings have been destroyed in heavy shelling, cars have been damaged, trees have been uprooted, burnt down. This sight of destruction, very upsetting for those who've lived in Kharkiv, who look at the city as their hometown, their motherland, unfortunately had to flee the scene.
Тут пизда, там пизда, тут пизда, тут пизда. Нету, там пизда.
Now, Russia continues its onslaught on Ukraine. Russian troops destroyed military dormitory in the Zhytomyr region. The image shows the shelled building, and people are trying to ascertain the extent of the damage done. Now, footage coming in from Wednesday shows Ukrainian groups pulling a Russian tank by a tractor amid the snowfall. You can see a man on top of the tank and another one driving the tractor. The group is taking the tank on a joyride, even as the Ukrainian forces there almost move with pride with whatever little military capacity that they have. They're trying as much as possible to stop Russian forces from invading. Now, heavy shelling still continues between Russia and, in fact, between the Russian and Ukraine troops in Kharkiv area. Horrific images on your screens here is coming in from Wednesday night. And according to reports, Russian troops have attacked residential areas of Kharkiv with heavy artillery. Now, as Russia continues to attack cities of Ukraine, 150 orphan children, mostly babies and toddlers from Lviv, arrive at the Remzel train station in Poland on Wednesday. Volunteers and police officers there are seen giving soft toys to kids as they were carried from the station and loaded onto buses. Very heart-wrenching visuals as civilians there with their little babies trying to escape from the war-torn regions. And Russian anti-war protester face police crackdown on Wednesday. On your screens here, you can see a demonstrator being brutally arrested during the anti-war protests in St. Petersburg city. The man was hit several times by the Russian cops while being arrested and then taken to a police truck. As Ukraine fiercely continues to battle Russian forces, this visual here shows Ukrainian servicemen inspecting a charred Russian tank in the Sumy region of Ukraine on Wednesday. What's left behind is large-scale devastation. And in the face of mega possible Russian assaults, members of the Territorial Defense Unit on guard barricade the National Opera House in Ukraine's Odessa with sandbags and anti-tank hedgehogs on Wednesday to protect whatever little is left behind. And here we see some dramatic images that's been captured on India Today's cameras by our correspondent Ehor. This footage here on your screens show how deadly the Russian Su-34 fighter jet being shot down by Ukrainian troops in Kharkiv. These are visuals coming in with India Today's cameras catching it right in time. We see Ukrainian troops in no mood to give up. On your screens here is thermal footage of Ukrainian troops destroying Russian artillery on Wednesday. And according to reports, Ukraine has destroyed Russian tanks, armored vehicles, as well as military establishments. They're putting up good resistance, stiff resistance, with whatever little military capacity that they have. And Russian planes have dropped bombs in residential areas of Sumy city on Wednesday, leaving many, including kids and women, dead and injured on your screens here is the aftermath shots of destruction from the city of Sumy, a very sensitive zone which has come under severe fire by Russian forces. Ukrainian troops have shot down another Russian plane over the capital city, Kiev. You can see a massive explosion that took place on Wednesday, after which the plane caught fire. You can also see plume of smoke from the wrecked plane. This is the strikes that were carried out in the capital city of Kiev. And CCTV footage captures Russian onslaught. Severe missile strikes in Zhytomyr oil depot that was reported and captured on cameras. The attack was followed by massive explosion in the oil depot tankers. Here are the images, compelling enough to say that Zhytomyr, another area that's been heavily bombarded by the Russian troops. The Zhytomyr oil depot catches fire in tanks after several missiles have hit the depot. Huge plumes of smoke and fireballs that can be seen emerging from that depot. This oil depot burns and explodes even as strikes continue to take place in Zhytomyr. And the footage here is from Chernihiv, where Russians have attacked residential areas. You can see shell buildings, damaged vehicles, broken glasses, destruction all around Chernihiv. Chernihiv was hit with large-scale explosions by the invaders. Even now, we hear that Russian troops have managed to invade and, in fact, advance towards Chernihiv, as that entire city is now buried under that wreckage. Russia steps up shelling of residential areas. We see heavy shelling that's been reported on residential buildings in Kharkiv. Even as we speak, Kharkiv comes under severe attack from Russian forces. You can see buildings here and cars that have been wrecked completely after shelling. Few people can also be seen trying to ascertain the extent of the damage as they assess the situation on ground post the attacks. As Russian troops attack residential area of Brovary, the district in Ukraine, this image here shows a church which has been set on fire by the invaders in Zavorochi village. However, there is no confirmation of any casualties yet, but these lovely, lovely areas that once stood tall and thrived in tourism, unfortunately now gutted. As Russian troops advance towards the capital city of Kiev, the nearby city of Irpin now faces the heat. The visuals on your screens here show local residents crossing a destroyed bridge as they evacuate from the town of Irpin. And Russian nationals continue to bear the brunt of economic sanctions that have been imposed by several countries around the world. These visuals are from Varadero Airport in Cuba, where almost 300 stranded Russian tourists are seen going through the boarding bridge to fly back home. And here is Russia there continues a bloodbath on streets of Ukraine. Drone footage shows here refugees fleeing Ukraine from the port of Isasia in Romania by ferry. Big explosions in the separatist region of Luhansk. According to reports, an oil depot is gutted in fire amid heavy shelling from the Russian forces. And here Russia ups the offensive on the 13th day. We saw visuals that came in of shelling that battered a residential building in Kharkiv. And according to reports, 2 buildings have been destroyed in that airstrike by Russian troops. Kharkiv really one of those cities that have really borne the brunt of Russian aggression. Russian troops target residential buildings in Kharkiv. It continues to do so. A video has now emerged in the aftermath of shelling in Ukraine's second largest city. You can see a building that's caught fire. There is no confirmation of any casualties as yet, but we see and we know that lakhs of people have fled from that city of Kharkiv. This comes horrific images of bodies of civilians in Kharkiv. At least 8 people were killed after a heavy shelling that took place by Russian troops in a residential area. You can see bodies lying under debris, buildings, cars that have been completely destroyed, and no sign of life that can be seen there on ground. And Ukrainian troops have shot down a Russian fighter jet. The incident has taken place over Kharkiv on March 6th. Ukraine has claimed to destroy over 45 Russian planes and helicopters since the 5th of March.
Пиздец.